So thin and light laptops and powerful hardware is a combination with a complicated relationship, but the newer Ryzen 4000 series of mobile CPUs do reduce the compromise that laptop CPUs have traditionally had. So today we have the ROG Zephyrus G15 GA502IV with us, which features the top of the line Ryzen 9 4900HS along with an RTX 2060 Max-Q, and this laptop may not be perfect at all, but it still might be your only choice because the 4900HS is a very rare CPU to find, especially with the RTX 2060 Max-Q. So we are going to discuss some of its not so major limitations, and I'll share why I think that this could be the best laptop for many people despite its imperfections. Hey guys, I am Siddharth and let's get started. In the box, you of course get the laptop, then some manuals, and then finally a charger. We don't have any ROG stickers in the box, which was a little surprising for me. The design of the Zephyrus G15 is pretty basic for an ROG laptop, but not in a bad way. The top has a brushed metal finish that is really nice, and it also includes a non-RGB ROG logo that also looks very neat and stealthy. You can lift its lid up with a single finger if you care about that. And the overall design of the frame is really great with very narrow bezels on its top three sides, which makes it accommodate a 15.6-inch screen in a compact form factor. The screen does have more flex than I was expecting considering that it is a completely metal frame, which I guess is a result of having super thin bezels, so I don't feel comfortable lifting the lid up with its corner. The surface of this laptop catches your fingerprints and oils really fast, so you may have to carry around a cloth for cleaning if it is something that bothers you. You do have good I/O options with this laptop, as you get two USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports along with a Kensington lock on one side, and then on the other side you have another USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port along with a 3.5mm headset jack and a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port that also has a display port out, then a full-sized HDMI 2.0B port, an RJ45 jack for Ethernet, and then the power port for adapter. Speaking of power adapter, the G15 comes with a 180-watt charger which has a reasonably sized brick. It does charge it pretty fast, up to 80 to 90% in less than an hour, but the USB Type-C port on this laptop also supports power delivery, so you can also just use any Type-C charger, but that of course won't be as fast as the 180-watt brick. The keyboard on the Zephyrus G15 is nice. It has kind of a shallow traveling distance, but the keys do feel tactile and they don't wobble. You also get plenty of space at bottom of the keyboard, which makes it comfortable to rest your palms there, so the typing experience on this keyboard is decent, and I really have to appreciate the layout of the keys on this keyboard because everything is laid out in a logical manner and all the keys like delete, backspace, shift and control are in their proper place and are properly sized. It also has dedicated buttons for volume control on the left side, which makes it very comfortable to access while gaming. The keyboard is also backlit with white LEDs. The font on the keys is clean for a gaming laptop, and the keyboard also has minimal flex in it. The screen is of course a very big highlight on this laptop, as it is a 15.6-inch IPS display panel with a 1080p resolution, which looks quite sharp. And the most special thing about it is of course its crazy refresh rate of 240Hz, which has adaptive sync, so there is no screen tearing while gaming. Now you will see many people saying that beyond 144Hz it doesn't make a big difference, but once you move your mouse pointer or windows on this screen, you really see another level of smoothness, and it is an amazing experience that really makes all the movements in UI massage your eyes. A 144Hz version may actually have been more practical on this laptop, but Asus decided to go with a 240Hz screen because YOLO, and there is a 120Hz version of this laptop available, but it has significantly less powerful hardware inside. This display is also color calibrated by Pantone, so it is also suitable for content creation, which we will talk about soon, and its 300 nits brightness is also nice for indoor use. The matte finish of the screen also has a very balanced strength, so it doesn't decrease the quality of the display. The touchpad on this laptop is big enough and it works as expected. The gestures work nicely and I didn't have any issues with tracking of my fingers. You don't have a webcam on this, which might be a deal breaker for a lot of people. If you are serious about webcam quality, you may want an external solution anyways, as most onboard webcams on laptops in this price range have the quality of a potato, but something is still better than nothing. We also have an absence of any kinds of biometrics which you could use to log in with Windows Hello. It is something that I don't personally mind, but you may like the intimacy of a fingerprint or iris login over typing a PIN or password. The downfiring speakers are not super loud, but their quality is very good. But if you put the laptop in your lap, the sound does get absorbed in your crotch. Also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with bell icon so you don't miss my video on this Mi smart speaker, which is loud enough to be cross resistant. Coming to the specs on board, we have a 1TB NVMe SSD which is really fast and makes it boot up quickly, and it has an 8+8GB RAM configuration, which means that 8GB RAM on it is soldered, but you can replace the other RAM stick with a 16GB unit and that will upgrade the RAM to 24GB. Some people may find this approach to be odd, but at least we don't have a completely non-upgradable RAM like MacBooks, and 24GB of RAM is actually just good enough to even edit 4K videos on it. You can also expand the storage because it does have an extra M.2 slot, and you can also replace the existing 1TB SSD with a higher capacity one, but since you can only use M.2 SSDs, the price of upgrading this to a 2 or 3TB of total storage will be expensive, and you will need that storage if you want to install more than 3 or 4 modern games on it and also want to have space for media, especially if you are video editing. It also comes with Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.0, which is sweet, and this laptop is 2 cm thick in a body that weighs 2 kg, which I think is kind of impressive for the specs that we have. But the star of the show are the CPU and GPU, of course, and the G15 is really packed with some very powerful hardware. That is because it features an AMD Ryzen 9 4900HS, which is an amazing CPU to have in a laptop. It is an 8-core 16-thread CPU that goes up to 4.3 GHz, and that is some serious horsepower to have in a mobile device. As you can see in this benchmark, it does give a serious competition to a desktop Core i9-9900K, and even though this is a 2-year-old CPU, having this kind of power in a laptop is a big deal. The GPU on board is also an RTX 2060 Max-Q, which also performs really well for gaming, and we do see a good performance when you try to play games on it. Now these figures are way below the 240Hz refresh rate on this laptop, so if you really want to game at 240 FPS, your choices will really be limited to games like CSGO, which are very easy on the GPU. The performance while video editing is also nice, and it rendered a 6-minute 4K video with some effects in around 4 minutes, leveraging the newly added NVENC support in Premiere, and that is a very good result for a laptop. But this laptop doesn't have the ergo lift feature of some other Asus laptops, which lifts the bottom of the laptop to increase airflow, and I think that would have really helped it because the thermal design on this laptop is weird. It has these very thick rubber pads at bottom which help it lift up the laptop to a higher than usual height, and this does help the thermals somewhat, but the intake on the fans are blocked by a plastic film, and Asus seems to have done it to channel the airflow in a way that keeps the keyboard at a lower temperature while also cooling other components. But why would they design a bottom that has vents in it and then block it with a film is something that I don't understand. I can't actually show it to you because I think that will void the warranty on this laptop, but it does seem like some last moment decisions were taken with the airflow design on this laptop, whatever the actual reason might have been. So the thermal performance on this laptop is okay-ish. Whenever you are doing something demanding, the CPU temperature rises to 90 to 95 degrees Celsius, and the GPU also goes into the mid-80s, and so after 4 or 5 minutes of intense workload, the CPU throttles to 3.3 GHz from 4 GHz, and GPU core clock also drops to 1400 MHz from 1700 MHz. Now this is not a terrible drop in performance, and at these clocks the laptop can still perform decently, but I am not sure if this situation could not have been better, especially because there are videos on YouTube that show up to a 15 degrees of reduction in temperature if you remove those plastic covers. Another thing to note here is that to sustain the maximum possible performance on this laptop, you will have to run the fans on their maximum speed on the turbo mode, which is only available when you have the power plugged in, and the turbo mode is actually very audible. It isn't overly noisy for a gaming laptop, but then you also have to keep it on full blast while gaming, and while that is a compromise that you have to make with laptops typically, it is definitely not a pleasant experience to hear the loud fans at all times when doing serious work like video editing. For gaming, you will be wearing headphones, so you will probably not get bothered by the noise. Battery life on the Zephyrus G15 is good as long as you are not doing something that is too intensive. So in general use, you will be able to get around 6 to 8 hours of usage, but if you are gaming with the highest settings, you may only get around 1 to 2 hours. So in conclusion, the ROG Zephyrus G15 is a laptop that does perform well, and the price point of around 1.3 lakh rupees or $1,400 in US is also not unjustified, considering that it has a 240Hz screen and RTX 2060 Max-Q along with the very powerful Ryzen 4900HS, which is a rare combination to see on laptops. But I am not sure if the thermals on this laptop couldn't have been better, which would have also improved the sustained performance, which is even more unfortunate because Asus does have better cooling solutions for their laptops that we don't have on this model. But that being said, I am also not sure if there is an alternative to this laptop because I really tried finding laptops with 4900HS CPU and there are very few options. There was one laptop from Dell, but it didn't have the RTX 2060 Max-Q, and there was a Lenovo laptop, but it used the integrated GPU on 4900HS. There is also Asus's own Zephyrus G14, but I am not sure if that is a clearly better choice than this laptop. The Intel competition in comparison seems very inefficient while still not being as good, and considering how much this laptop is heating even with the 4900HS, I am not sure if something as powerful as this can be tamed in a better way in a 2kg body of this size. I also don't know whether Asus India specifically will void the warranty if you open this laptop to upgrade the RAM or storage, and I will have further information on this in a pinned comment, so make sure that you check that out. But if you are a person who does bursts of productivity or gaming on the go, it does perform well, and the hardware and especially the screen is pretty solid, and even if you get some thermal throttling on it, it will still perform better than laptops with inferior hardware. So I'll have links to buy this in the video description. Let me know your thoughts on the Zephyrus G15 in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or a thumbs down if you disliked it. Subscribe with bell. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.